This is Angelic, and at 54 years old, she just experienced life's most difficult situation.
I just never thought that the next morning when I woke up and he left to go run errands, that'd be the last time that I would see him.
So you don't see him the next day? How do you know?
He called me, just said goodbye.
Up front to those events, Angelic has to continue living. This video dives into the next financial steps she can take to get her life back in order. Welcome to Finance Action, the show where we take action. My name is Romain, and today I have the pleasure to be with Angelic. Angelic, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Angelic, let's look at your profile. So you are 54 years old. You're originally from Long Island, New York. You currently live in Las Vegas and you work as a flight attendant. And also, sometimes you fill some of the bills with a temp job as an account payable. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Looking at the way you've rated your personal finances from chilling to Mayday, you rated yourself as, I'm okay. This is excellent to hear. But I know, guys, there is much more to the story. In fact, if I may say, kind of a disclaimer, this story can be a little bit sensitive. So, I encourage you guys to be mindful of your viewership. We're going to touch some of the subjects that can be a little bit sensitive. So just follow along and feel up to your comfort level. If not, there are some episodes, like sections of the video that you may want to skip, but we'll see how we're going to approach all of this together, okay? You're telling me today that you're okay. Kind of what has been the fluctuations in your life, Angelique?
Angelique is always running.
Okay.
It's either getting on a plane or getting in a car and driving.
Okay.
I've moved around a lot from city to city.
What has brought you to making those moves?
My parents passed away, both of them pretty young. And so I ran away. I left Long Island, New York, and I bounced around quite a bit. So I moved to New Jersey. I lived in Kansas. I went to Colorado. I've bounced around quite a bit in my life.
I see. And how long have you been in Las Vegas for now?
Just about 6 months, coming up on 6 months.
6 months, okay.
Yeah.
So another recent move, Angelique, kind of what has brought you to making this move?
Yeah, so I was living in Indianapolis, and unfortunately, my boyfriend of 3 years passed away.
Okay. So you were living with this individual for 3 years?
Yes.
It was pretty young?
Yes.
What happened?
He took his life.
How did all of this happen? What was going on?
Obviously, he was very unhappy in his own life and was dealing with some emotional turmoil, which I was unaware.
You couldn't see it?
No, I didn't see it coming. The depth of the pain that this person was in was obviously severely great and heavy for them. And I didn't see it. That's the tragic part. I did not see this coming.
What happened at the time? How did those events took place?
It was a Friday night and I was flying and my flight got delayed and I got stuck in Atlanta and I didn't make it home on Friday night. And when I got home on Saturday, he seemed visibly distraught. And I thought something was wrong with his health, and I asked if he was okay, and he told me he was not, and that he had cheated on me the night before when I didn't make it home.
The night before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was really heavy information for me, and I just never thought that the next morning when I woke up and he left to go run errands, that'd be the last time that I would see him.
So you don't see him the next day? How do you know?
He left the house. He said he was going to run errands. And then there was a phone call. And he was clearly distraught. And
he called you?
He called me. Yeah, he called me. And pretty much was just said goodbye, hung up the phone, And that was the end of it.
And at the time, you had no idea.
I knew something was wrong. And so I called the police, and they said there was nothing they could do because he was not a missing person. And I said, this is a welfare check. This person was very upset on the phone, and I know something is not right. You just know when something's not right. They said there was nothing they could do. I called friends. Where would he go? Where could he have been? Trying to intervene. And one of his friends said he might be at work. And I'm like, it's a Sunday. Why would he be at work? And I drove over to the parking lot, and I had found him in the parking lot in his van.
Okay. So we'll spare some of the details around that just for your,
Thanks.
For respects of the events.
Thank you.
So at the time, what were some of the first steps that you've taken after that, kind of like that led you right away to leave Indianapolis?
Yeah. Well, just living together, I have no rights to the house, right? So I knew I had to pack up and leave regardless. It's not like I could have stayed. But I didn't want to stay. I didn't want any of the familiarity or the memories or driving up the road and just being triggered. I packed up my car, shipped everything in a pod, and drove across the country. Came back to Las Vegas. I used to live here, and so it was comfortable, and I liked the sunshine, and I wanted to get far, far away from the cold weather of Indianapolis, and winter was coming, and I just knew that it was going to sink me further into sadness if I'd stayed.
Okay. When it comes to your situation after the course of those events, I'm sure it created some turmoil in your life, in your job. You were working at the time.
Yeah, so I was working out of Orlando, and I put in a hardship transfer, which was not granted. So I had to commute to Orlando to get to work from Las Vegas, which is a 5-6 hour flight. Go a day in advance, get a hotel at my own expense, and work 3-4 days, get a hotel, and then fly back. It was a lot. It was quite overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was calling off sick quite a bit, just for my own sanity. And also to save me some money because the hotels are expensive.
So you were not making money pretty much of the deal.
No.
Okay.
I flew very intermittently.
So that has kind of stopped your stream of income for a while and pretty much tapped into some of your savings.
Yes.
Okay. But today, Angelic, you're presenting yourself as I'm okay. What led you to make this decision of rating yourself as I'm okay?
I got myself into therapy, did a lot of, healing, working on self, massage therapy, lymphatic drainage massage, acupuncture, chiropractic, meditation, yoga, just anything that I could throw myself into so that I could come back to center, so I could rebalance and heal.
How do you feel today, mentally, stable-wise?
I feel much better than I did 6 months ago.
Okay.
So I feel pretty level.
Okay.
Still a little bit somber.
Yeah, well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is kind of the situation that we are in right now. And in that time, you've decided to pretty much put the flight attendant a little bit on pause, and led you today to mention to me that you are potentially taking a temp job as an account payable, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Really looking forward to that.
Okay, kind of trying to get back into the systems and the I don't want to say regular life, but kind of getting back into the normal system. Do you have any dependent children or any of that at this time?
No.
No. Okay, so it's just you
And my cat.
and your cat. That's correct. Okay. All right, guys. I told you this could be a little bit sensitive, so it's kind of the reality of life, and I want to be again sensitive to those events, and I will account for this as we think about your recommendation. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Now that we know a little bit more about your story and your background, let's look into the specifics of your finances, okay? Which will start with the income and assets. A brief apartheid, guys, to let you know that I always keep myself up to date with some of the best products available in the world of finance. In fact, in the description below, I've included a list of resources that I use myself, from pet insurance to high-yield saving accounts, so I invite you to check it out. And now, let's get back to our content. You are about to go back into the workforce. How much are you going to make per month?
About 3,000.
3,000 net in your pocket?
Yes.
Okay. So that brings your annual income at around $48,000. When we look at the median in the United States for your age bracket between 45 and 54 years old, 50% make more, 50% make less, it is at 61,400. Again, this is transitional. You were making quite more before as a flight attendant, but right now we're trying to get back on our feet. So I will account for that. Do you have any other source of income or any type of lump sum that you're expecting soon?
No.
You're 100% on yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Looking at your assets, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to go on a ride because our friend Angelic collects checking account, saving account, and credit cards. Okay. So you're actually one of the highest collectors. I have about, hundreds of pages of accounts here. Showing with around 10 different accounts. And so I've consolidated all of that for the pleasure and patience of our audience as well. But if we look kind of together, in terms of your checking account, you have about 2,137. That is 6 different checking accounts. Question for you, why do you have so many checking accounts?
I really don't know how I got on that train. Occasionally they give you a little bump if you sign up for a new account. And so I kept doing that.
Yes. So I like those little bumps, I must say myself. There is sometimes banking companies, assuming that you're making a certain, minimum deposit or direct deposit from your job, you get, a couple hundreds of dollars here and there. I've had the chance to play this game myself a little bit. But generally, sometimes after you tend to want to close the accounts, depending on, it allows you to free trial the banks while being incentivized on this. You've free trialed many of them and you've never touched those accounts or just never, closed them up. 6 checking accounts, we would want at some point to consolidate that, okay? Let's move on to some of the rest of your accounts. You also have a bunch of saving accounts, but I see for the most part, you have one that is pretty big at $29,675. This one is invested on a high yield saving. I like to see that. You're earning a little bit, 4.35%. That allows you to fight for inflation. Okay. Let's move on to some of the rest of your account. You also have a health saving account, which is an account that allows you to put pre-tax money into a health specific account that allows you to pull when you're looking at medical expenses. And I see that for some of it, you've used it for your therapy, which is good to see. Nicely done on that front. I like actually those accounts. If you are part of a company, I also like FSA accounts, assuming, please, that you always remember to use the full amount by the end of the year. But I personally really enjoy those accounts when it comes to just assuming medical expenses. You get some good tax benefits. Okay. Moving on to some of your other accounts. So you also are collecting quite a bit of brokerage accounts, 3 of them. We see here a balance around, if we sum all of them, $882. And ladies and gentlemen, Angelic here is a crypto specialist with most of those investments being across meme coins and kind of shit coins, a little bit all over the place. Or also about 40 pages of of different stocks. You're investing in everything, okay? All right, we'll look into how we consolidate that together to a more streamlined strategy, okay? But you've put your feet here and there in the water on investments. How do you feel about those?
They're all over the place.
Yeah.
They need some help.
Okay, so we'll be looking into this in our recommendation section. Moving on to some of your other accounts, I see that you have a 401k that you need to roll over. So when it comes to situations like this, I actually really enjoy a company that is called Capitalized. And if, for example, you have a 401k, you don't know where it is, you have no idea what's going on with it, and you want to roll over or get more information about it, they search it for you for free. They look into making the rollover on your behalf and so on, and it's very clean. I've tested the system myself. I have a link in the description, and I will be sharing for you as well. I really recommend them. Really good with their services. That is for when you have a 401k. So that's about $741. Okay, that's an old one. But you also have some decent retirement funds with Spirit of $29,594. Okay, it is still TBD whether this one is a Roth or a traditional. I believe it is a Roth, but we will have to look into that for you a little bit deeper to make sure that you're actually going to contribute for a Roth. And I recommend that you guys contribute for a Roth as well if you have the option. Okay. Looking at the rest of your assets, you also have a car. What do you drive?
A 2012 Mitsubishi Galant.
Very nice. Okay. How many miles?
90,000.
90,000. Personally, guys, I love Mitsubishi. It's a kind of a hidden, it's a hidden gem, guys. It's unkillable engines, very good reliability, low maintenance. People slash on it, but personally, I really love them. I've had countless of Mitsubishis in my life, and I'm glad that yours is running right. Is that the case?
It is. It's great.
All right. So that brings your total assets right now, Angelic, at 54 years old at $71,029. Okay. So I know that there was a lot of expenses over the course of the past 6 months. But so we are going to want to improve that as we think soon about your retirement. We'll be discussing about some of the specifics, and I'm sure you guys will actually really enjoy the recommendation sections. This will be very specific to your case, Angelic. Any other questions that I wanted to ask you? With much sensitivity, did you collect any form of money from the situation with your ex-partner or nothing? Nothing, okay. And with your parents, did some of that money came from any form of inheritance at the time?
No.
No, okay. So all of what I'm showing, of what we are seeing today is purely build yourself.
Yes.
Okay, good. So, and no other source of asset, right, from the one that we discussed. Okay. Right, now that we know a little bit more about your income and your assets, let's move to our next section, which looks at your expenses and your debt. How much do you pay for rent in Las Vegas?
$1,400.
$1,400. Does that include utilities?
Yes.
Okay. $1,400. Looking at your housing expense against your income, you're at 47%. We like it to be below 28. So you are quite bowling on this housing expense. However, you are. I understand not you wanting to share a room or like a house or any of that. You want a certain form of privacy. Okay, we'll account for this at this time. It's not a crazy amount, but it's still a little bit steep against your income that you're about to make. That's something to put into account. As we transition into some of the rest of your expenses, here, transportation. I'm glad to see that you own your car outright, so no expense on that. You're driving barely, but looking at some of your recent statements, car insurance is insane, almost $500 per month, which prompts me to ask you the question, why the heck are you paying almost $500 per month?
When I moved back to Las Vegas, it jumped up from 111 to over 5.
Okay, so as you may know, guys, car insurance are very zip code specific. So it's not only just about the city that you live in, but it's also specific to your zip code. Mm-hmm. Because what insurance do, they have the whole map of the United States pretty much kind of segmented with, high risk neighborhood of like, car thefts and so on and so forth. Vegas being a tough ground when it comes to car accident. As you guys may know, if you have followed, I had a massive car accident in Vegas. So I understand that. However, for you, jumping up to $500 seems freaking crazy.
It's too much.
So, personally, ladies and gentlemen, one of the car insurance that I like myself very much is called Lemonade, which I'm glad also to see that you have it as a pet insurance. Finally, we have someone with pet insurance. But I encourage you guys, and we'll see at the time if I have a link in the description, to check out Lemonade, both for pet insurers, renters, as well as car, because they charge you by the mile. So when you're showing to me about $80 worth of fuel per month, that tells me that you're not driving much. And your car insurance is drastically going to be lowered. So if you can't apply through them, I recommend you definitely do benchmark. Okay, $500 for car insurance is crazy, especially for how much you're driving and for the age of the car. With much respect, do you have any accidents on your driver record? Anything like?
Might have one from a few years back.
Okay, how long ago?
Maybe three years.
That's still gonna be recorded. Was it big?
No.
Not even? Okay. Well, that's probably a reason why, but nothing like a DUI or any of that. No. Still, they are charging you quite a bit. So definitely up to negotiation. As we look into some of the rest of your expenses, ladies and gentlemen, here Angelic is also a credit card collector. You collect cards, you don't collect debt, so that's nice. Actually, when we look at the sum of your debt here, it is not massive. In fact, I have aggregated because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different credit cards. Most of them have balances, but together, they sum to about 1,162. Okay. I also see, another balance on another card at 1,339. You also have 232. It's a kind of a couple thousands here and there when it comes to credit cards. But I want to ask you, I see also one for 3,339 coming from Upstart. Can you tell me what is this?
That's a personal loan I took out to move from Las Vegas to Indianapolis.
Years ago. Okay. Do you know the interest on it?
It's around 20%.
Okay. What has prone you not wanting to pay it?
Because I thought that it's good for your credit to leave balances and pay things off over time.
Okay. So that is a good point that you're raising, and it's a false myth. So let's look at this very, very briefly, but strategically. So you do not want to carry balance on your credit cards on none of that month over month. That is a disaster, especially when it looks at the interest that they are charging. It is not valid. Now, you're raising a valid point by showing an active loan that has a positive trail of payments, okay? However, I would say yes if it's a mortgage or if maybe it's a car debt that has a very low interest, okay? But a loan that has a 20% interest is terrible. So we will want to address that together in recommendations. In fact, if you have any debt right now, inflation is high, the economy is expensive. So generally, I would say over 7%. Right now, I would say anything higher than 10%, you pay it, no matter what it is, no matter what. It's not going to have a positive impact. In fact, if we look at your credit score, what is your credit score right now?
653.
Okay. Oh, and what I also see is that looking at most of your debt, not all of them are on auto pay. Why aren't you on auto pay on many of them?
I changed banks recently. I had a bank in Indianapolis that I moved some stuff out of. Then I opened a Chase account, and then I decided to open the American Express account. So I need to move everything over.
Oh, I see. Every time. Okay. So, yeah. So that's kind of the concern with having so many checking accounts is sometimes you kind of mess yourself around. And, did you have any missed payments?
I have.
That's why, so just as a friendly reminder, on one hand, you're telling me that you're not gaming, but wanting to play the system by maintaining your Upstart loan to help your credit score. But on the other hand, which is going to help you by peanuts, maybe 2 or 3 points. But on the other hand, you don't have auto pay on most of your credit cards. And when you miss a payment, this has a tremendous impact. So do not carry a balance and always have auto pay on your accounts for the full balance, okay? Why? Because if you don't have money to pay for that card, you don't buy. in your case, you have money, right? So yeah, playing this game is good in the short term, but I mean, you see, right? 653 is not excellent, and we would want something much better for you. Okay, so we'll be thinking about this together. Okay. As we look into some of the rest of your expenses, you have no student loan, no car debt, no mortgage. You don't own a house yet. So for the most part, you don't have that much debt. In fact, if we sum all of your debt, it's around $6,000, $6,072 to be specific. Okay. Now I look into some of your spending. For the most part, Angelic, I'm very pleased to say that you remain a very frugal person. I'm glad to see that, especially given that you haven't been able to generate income for the trading 6 months or so, or very minimal. I see a little bit of, lavish, you could say, in a way, with massages and so on. But for the most part, you're living a regular life of a 54 years old. You're going out a little bit here and there for drinks, I see, during the week. Nothing too crazy. I think this is fair. In fact, when we look at your spending on food, you tend to spend at outlet stores, which I personally love. In Las Vegas, we have a store that's called Grocery Outlet, for example, that has very high quality brands at a much steeper discount, almost 50 to 60% off. So look into those. I'm glad that you're doing it and that you're maintaining all of that. I see that you're also doing coupons and sales and so on. So that is a pretty good behavior. On that front, I have not much to say. You're living a pretty frugal lifestyle. Well done.
Thank you.
Looking at some of the rest of your expenses here, I see that you also have therapy sessions around $40 a week that I will account for. I see that you have storage to the amount of about $146 per month. Why do you have storage?
Because I haven't gotten my things out of New Jersey.
Still, New Jersey, but that's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I need to work on that.
Yeah. So, guys, let's be honest between me and you, okay? When you put stuff like this in storage, and that's how they're betting on you, they're betting that, okay, she's gonna. That's why they give you so many entry bonus, is because they know that a vast majority of the population is gonna carry that shit for years and then just let it ride, and then they don't come back to it, or it just lasts for, how long have you been having this one for?
Too many years.
Years, I'm sure. Yeah, that's right. So, how many?
8?
Ay, gosh. Okay, so wait. Let's do some fun math here for a second. So, I mean, they probably love you over there. Yeah, Angelic. Don't worry, you're not the only one that does something like this. It's almost $15,000.
Crazy.
Is there $15,000 worth of stuff in it?
Probably not.
So, I will want you to look into this. That's money that's flowing out. Even if you have to, sell it or just say, I surrender on my stuff, they take it, whatever. I mean, I'm doubt, but could be worth a quick flight. Boom, boom, boom. It's over $1,000. What? Yeah, it's almost $2,000 per month, per year. Huh?
Too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but again, for the most part, Angelic, you seem to be in a pretty good spot. How do you feel about your spend on a monthly basis right now?
Well, the last few months, obviously, I haven't had income, a whole lot of income. So I don't want that to go on any longer. That's why I'm going to do a temp job.
Okay. As we look into some of your goals here, you definitely want to, you mentioned consolidate your bank accounts, invest into better strategies, and at some point, build wealth.
Yes.
Okay. That is now going to lead me to our next segment, which is going to be very interesting, Angelic. We're going to be looking at the money case. Welcome to the money case aspect, and this one is going to be very interesting, and it's going to have a little bit of a complexity to it, very different from the ones that we usually do. So follow along, as I think this will be very, very important for you. So the name of the game right now, Angelic, in your situation, is mostly to look at how are you going to handle retirement, and how have you put yourself in a financial situation that is prone to it, which right now we need to make some efforts around it. Okay, I want you to follow along with me on this. When we think about retirement at an older age, similar to you. I don't want to say that you're old, but then a more advanced, so you're getting close and close to it. In this case, I'm calculating about 13 years, assuming, because you probably are going to have to go to 67 at this time. This is how I'm generally like to think about it. How much will you need by the time you're 67 in order to assume the cost of living as if it was today? And how I'm calculating it is I'm saying, okay, in the future, Angelic will need to live at $40,000 per year. It's going to be how much you need to live. Now, this is not adjusted for inflation, right? Cost of living is going to rise. So when we adjust this for inflation, you will need around $54,000 per year, okay? Retiring at 67. Now, when we think about strategizing the finances around it, how much do you need to save to accomplish that and being able to pull money every year on it? Well, that's around $809,000. And that, is assuming that you're able to benefit from Social Security. Okay? So when we look at the $54,000 that you will have to withdraw to assume a $40,000 lifestyle as of today, $21,300 is coming from Social Security. So you yourself today, you need somehow to pull around $30,000+ per year. So where does that all brings us together? Well, if we were to invest about $50,000 of what you have today into a retirement, in 13 years, it will be worth $172,000. Okay? But that is far, far, far from enough for you to assume the same lifestyle as you are affording today. In that case, we're going to have to increase how much you need to pull and invest on retirements every month. Again, if you want to maintain this lifestyle, you need to save right now per month for the next 13 years. It's a lot. $2,020. If you save $2,020 per month for the next 13 years, you will be able from 67 to 91 years old to pull, complemented with Social Security, the same quality of life as if you're living today with $40,000 per year. So when you're making $3,000, mathematically doesn't work right now. So we need somehow to think about maybe not reaching this amount. This is, really looking for it, but we definitely need to start working together as to how can we increase your contribution to your retirement. That brings us, guys, to our next segment, which looks at the recommendation. All right, so let's look at some of your recommendations and why you're going to tell me why, Romain, did you bring the $40,000 of living? Well, right now, my dear friend, if we look at your expenses per month, even earning $3,000, you're going to be negative. Okay? In fact, looking at your needs, because your rent is so expensive and you have a bunch of other expenses that are coming through, you're at around $2,864. That is 95% of your income. Okay? If I account for some of your needs, because you still need to be able to live, I'm probably going to have to adjust this slightly down. I know you're doing your hair at a school to save on money and so on. You go out a little bit here and there, but we're going to have to keep it at $200, okay, per month on your wants. Right now, if we were to calculate this, you would be losing around $150 per month. And that is assuming that you're not making any savings. So you would progressively reduce the capital that you're making if you were to maintain that only source of income, okay? So how do we bring to a greater light, okay? Let's look a little bit at some of the recommendations if I was in your shoes. Number one, I need you to stop opening checking accounts left and right. I know those are advantages, but those have not helped you out. In fact, they may have, personally, I think, hurt your credit score. And to be frank, your credit score at your age is still very valid, okay? Because at some point, potentially, we could consider you thinking about purchasing something. Now, you're not going to ball on hundreds of thousands of dollars of houses. We could consider you starting before you reach retirement age, having an anchor somewhere because you've been running all over the place for all your life. Time to find somehow of an anchor, okay?
Yes.
Generally, I played that. I've had probably like 10 checking accounts over the course of my life, because I enjoy the game. But let's not gamble the system right now. Let's just play the game right and simplify your life, okay? So consolidate all of those checking accounts. I personally really like Chase. I think this is a great bank. It's a great customer service. It's a great experience. It's generally low fees. Personally, I have most of my stuff in Chase, except for business accounts, which I use Relay. Actually, in fact, there could potentially be at the time, because I'm working with them, a link in the description. So we'll see. I like them very much for a profit-first mentality strategy, but that's not your case. You're not in business accounts. So consolidate all of that stuff. Put 1 or 2 checking account and 1 or 2 saving account. Maintain the one that you have right now on a high yield saving. This is excellent. Just consolidate all of that stuff, and make sure that you auto pay on everything. Okay? Right away. Almost 60% of what you own is not on auto pay. So that's going to allow to bump your credit score because you're going to have no more missed payments, and pay it in full. Second thing, I need you to take care of this upstart date today. You're going to pay it right away. There is nothing that you need to work with them. It's over by, in fact, I want you to pay every single of your debt.
Okay.
There is absolutely nothing right now that will benefit you from paying 20% on some of your debt, okay? I know that you have one that is PayPal, that you're still benefiting from 0%. Just wipe all of that. I want you, Angelic, to become 100% debt-free.
Okay.
Because if you were telling me that you're carrying mortgage or any of that, I will tell you, that's fine. That's decent debt to carry. But all of the debt is what we refer to as bad debt.
Okay.
So wipe all of that out right away. I don't want any of that to see anymore. And please do not engage in maintaining a balance. This actually will hurt your credit score.
Okay.
What that means is in a couple of days, Angelic is going to be debt-free. And it's good. Okay? But I also want you to start kind of scavenging around on plenty of meme coins and shit coins, any of that. Let's stop all of that. And let's think about a strategy for you to invest at 54 years old that is going to give you returns of the market. What I need to do is to maintain around $20,000 into a high-yield saving account and move the excess into what we called a Roth IRA.
Okay.
Roth IRA. And you need to max it out every year. That's about a $7,000 contribution. Once you max that out, you can either continue to look and invest into your retirement, or you open a brokerage. And on that, you don't invest into a $70,000, 70 pages of small coins from 8 cents to $100. Okay. So when we look at the positions that I personally really like, this is no financial advice. I personally like VO, VGT, VTI, QQQ, SPYI, a little bit of BTC, Bitcoin, and a small portion of Ethereum. I have less than 10% in crypto. For you, I will put everything in detail, no worries. So you're going to have a maxed out Roth IRA. You're going to invest into a brokerage account. Little by little, I want you to start increasing as well your income. There is absolutely no way you're going to be able to pull it off other than if you're okay to live in a fairly tough grounds by the time you retire if you don't increase your income today. It's not going to happen. So you have a couple routes. One, you can continue your current position, and that's going to give you about $3,000. I think this is good if it's transitionary. I think at your age and your experience, I'm hoping that you can pull more than that. I personally there is a company that I partner with potentially, which is called Course Careers. And they allow you a certificate that doesn't cost much. And then they give you work from home positions that can be decently salaried, definitely better than what you would be getting. And that, as you think about working from home, this could be an interesting play. Again, I have a link in the description. I know I'm putting a lot of partner, but at the end of the day, those are the partners that I use that I recommend. So that's just the way it is. If I don't like them and I don't use, I don't recommend them. So that could be an interesting play for you as well, as we think about transitioning yourself out of the airline industry, okay, which is what you seem to mention you want to do.
Thank you.
Angelic, again, one of the most important points that I want to tell you is that if you do not generate additional income, you will not be able to put yourself in a good retirement position. So I have a target for you. I want you to maintain around $3,000 per month, but really, I want you somehow to be able to put an extra $2,000 per month as well. And that extra, because your income right now satisfies your needs and a bit of your wants. There is nothing left.
Right.
Any extra needs to be invested. And you don't need to invest into crazy things, a little bit of brokerage that follows the market, the Roth IRA, and so on. In the long term, you're going to be, for the most part, okay. And why am I telling you invest into the market rather than very safe positions and so on? Those are safe positions, but it's because you've described to me that you're willing to be a little bit more aggressive in your approach.
Yes.
And I think that in a way, I encourage you to be in that position. I feel like you still have, a good chunk of time to make it happen. But if you're standing still at 3,000, you will not mathematically make it. On top of that, small details. You need to definitely check your car insurance. There's absolutely no way you're putting $500 on this. It's a joke. You should be less than $200 on this. This is free money. Every cent that is free money should be invested. I am giving you, I told you, $200 per month to have fun. Go with your friend, go with the hair, no problem. Okay? But at 54, with much respect, and Angelic, I know your situation has been tricky, you are slightly behind.
Yes.
Right? So when we are behind, we need to buckle up and you need to get to that trajectory. Mathematically, I have a good news for you. It is possible. You're not too late. The wagon is passing and has been passed, but you still have a handle that you can hook on and get into the wagon. But it's going to require efforts on you. So that's a little bit about together my assessment. I wouldn't be able to describe the emotional events that have gone through, and I respect you from, I'm actually inspired by your resilience in front of those events. And I am really hoping that you're going to be able to bring yourself together, because I think you can still make it and make it good.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts, Angelique, as I think about this approach that we've discussed together?
I think it's wonderful. You showed up at the right time to give me the right information. This is what I needed. Thank you.
Do you feel that you're going to be able to do it?
Yes. I'm still working at the airline. I can still work on weekends and pull some extra money.
Okay.
So
I think you're going to be good.
Yeah.
You're going to be good, Angelique. Yeah. Come on. All right.
You.
So what I will do with you is I'm going to check with you in a month or so. And I'm going to ask you, all right, have you paid your debt? Have you been able to start saving? Have you worked with your car insurance? And if you play the game right, again, I think you will have no problem. Okay? Do we have an agreement on this?
We have an agreement. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Awesome. What would be some of your final words?
I think it's important at the beginning of the day to get up and have a positive mindset and to tell yourself that you're going to do great things and you can have a beautiful life no matter what you've been through. You just have to believe in yourself and have hope. And once in a while, you get really lucky and you meet someone like you who've really laid out a plan that makes sense to help me make sense of my life. And so I'm really grateful for that part.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Angelique. Thank you guys for following along. We'll be following up with Angelique for sure. I have great hopes. We encourage you to check out a bunch of our other videos as well that have incredible stories. Until then, I see you next time. À bientôt.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
So, tell me a little bit, Angelic. Last time I know the situation was a little bit difficult. I'm hoping that you're, continuing to recover through this whole process and things have been going better for you. Tell me a little bit more about, since you left the show, kind of what have been some of the actions that you've taken?
Still in the process, but I did the rollover
Nice.
of my 401k.
Excellent.
I opened up a secondary Roth IRA.
Okay.
And so I'm going to make a deposit in there every month. I've paid down a bunch of my credit cards. I'm pretty close
Very
to being
good.
finished. Yeah, I've been pretty close to being finished with that. I sold some of the crypto. I just need to repurchase, just make some
Excellent.
repurchases.
Have you closed some of the accounts?
Yes, I have. I've started to close. I've closed a couple down. I'm continuing to close them as I have time.
The other thing that I was going to ask you is, last time when we spoke, we discussed potentially increasing your income because you remember you were borderline on your expenses based on how much you were spending per month. How are you thinking about accomplishing that? So potentially a new job, but when it comes to your expenses, were you able to work them down a little bit?
Well, paying down some of these credit cards also, so I'm not paying interest.
Very nice.
Yeah, and so I wanted to work my other job more, but this one job is so time consuming that it's nearly impossible.
How much does the current job pay you?
Yearly is 44.
Whew. And it takes you 40 hours a week?
More even sometimes. And it's and it's very entry level, so it's not challenging. I'm just moving a lot of people, and I've got more skills than that. I want to get something that's more challenging for me, and that. So I had an interview. I didn't get a job, but I had an interview with a company that paid $10,000 more than what I'm currently making. So I'm looking along those lines because ultimately that's the better route. Yeah.
I think I would allocate quite a bit of my time with the skills that you've acquired, Angelic, over time for something that definitely pays more because 44 mathematically won't make the cut, as you know.
I'm thinking about giving my notice and going back to flying right now while I look.
But you are flying still from the East Coast, right? From Orlando, if I remember well?
No more. Now I'm finally based in Las Vegas.
How much do they pay you for that?
$40 an hour.
How much does that convert per year? Are you working 40 hours a week?
Yeah, it's more like 20, 30. But it's still a lot less time of my life versus being chained to a desk and for 44.
Yeah, it's $63,000, Angelique.
Yeah. I'm thinking about giving notice. Yeah, I was hopeful, but this isn't really a long-term good goal for me.
I don't think it was. You didn't waste your time. It was not jackpot money-wise, but it's been a couple months. Okay, it's taking a lot of your time. It's not paying that well. Let's get back into playing. If you're based in Las Vegas, you're going to be performing at $63,000 per year if you work 30 hours a week. And as you mentioned, that leaves you also some free time to, potentially work on either side income or find something where you can monetize in a way to increase. Because we are looking for that retirement money. Right now, it's the name of the game for you, Angelique.
Yeah, that absolutely, 100%.
Okay. Excellent. Well, if there is anything else that you would want to tell me as we think about your follow-up, Angelique.
I'm just going to take a step back and find more downtime because I think that's super important to find ways to be more productive and earn more money. Ultimately, that's the goal. So I don't want to stay in a job that isn't really making sense for my long-term goals.
Makes great sense. Perfect. Well, Angelique, I'm hoping that you can continue to pay those, bad debt that we discussed a little bit and kind of become debt-free because you can.
Absolutely. I'm so much closer. That felt good to just pay down all the credit cards and pay off the loan I had. And so that feels wonderful, not having that to worry about and not pay interest. So I appreciate your help in all your advice. Yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure having you, and thank you so much for picking up my call. I'm sure we'll be in contact again in the future. Keep me updated on how things are going, but otherwise, good luck. And sometimes just let that job go so that you go back to a higher pay and something that protects a little bit better your time right now.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for everything.
Of course. Take care, Angelic. Bye-bye.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.